Engineers exposed. The incredible journey of a janitor's daughter reviving a 15-year dead engine. The sun hung low in the sky, casting warm hues over the small Midwestern town that Clara Johnson called home. She stood outside the defunct mechanic shop, heart racing with anticipation. Inside lay something extraordinary, a rusted engine, a forgotten relic that embodied all her hopes and dreams. As she stepped through the dusty doorway, Clara felt a rush of emotions overwhelm her. This wasn't just an engine, it was her ticket to freedom. Clara had always felt like an outsider at school, constantly aware of the whispers that followed her. The janitor's kid. To her affluent classmates, worth was measured by the labels on their clothes and the shine of their parents' cars. But Clara had grit, and in her heart, she harbored dreams of becoming an engineer. Her family, a tight-knit group of hardworking individuals, had instilled values in her, values that defined her, regardless of their financial struggles. As she pulled away the layers of dirt from the engine, memories flooded back. Her father working late nights, her mother balancing 2 jobs, all for the hope of a brighter future for her. "You can do anything, Clara," her father often said, though worry flickered in his eyes. And yet, every time she tried to voice her ambitions, she was met with the weight of their fears. Stability over dreams. It felt like a constant tug-of-war within her. Clara didn't let the tears fall as she turned the wrench that day. This dumpy old engine flickered with potential, a mirror of her own aspirations. But with each turn, doubt crept in. Rude jeers from classmates echoed in her mind, reminding her of the monumental challenges ahead. "You're just a dreamer," they said. "What makes you think you could actually succeed?" Unbeknownst to her, whispers of skepticism turned into a tempest when the news broke about a prestigious engineering program opening its doors. The deadline approached fast and Clara's heart sank. The weight of her community's expectations bore down on her. Should she stay to support her family, or risk everything to chase her dreams? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Facing the engine now felt like standing on the edge of a cliff. Just when Clara considered letting it all go, a seasoned mechanic nearby, an old veteran with a kind smile, offered her guidance. "Never give up, kid," he said, his weathered hands gesturing toward the engine. "It ain't only metal. It's dreams waiting to roar." That day, Clara took every piece home. In her garage, her sanctuary of dreams, she fought against tears, sweat dripping down her face. She struggled with stubborn mechanisms and frequent failures, the roar of the engine a promise hanging just out of reach. The entire town seemed to hold its breath, a community divided between skepticism and hope. As her fingers found a part they had missed, something shifted. The engine coughed to life, a heartbeat resonating with her very soul. Clara's chest tightened, tears of joy spilling over. The once dormant engine hummed, a mechanical heartbeat joined her own racing pulse. At the upcoming community fair, Clara prepared to showcase her hard work. Behind her stood the culmination of dreams, sacrifices, and a family's unwavering support. Yet doubts whispered in her mind. Would she finally prove her worth, or would their judgments swallow her whole? The crowd watched, silence draping over the moment like the weight of her ambitions. The engine stood before her, and in that pivotal second, Clara's heart echoed. The question that lingered: could she really become everything she dreamt, or would fear anchor her to the ground? Clara took a deep breath, her heart pounding in her chest like the engine she had revived. The crowd felt enormous, a sea of faces that had followed her journey from the shadows of doubt to this moment of light. With her family standing proudly behind her, she held the wrench tightly as if it were a lifeline. This was it, the moment she'd been waiting for. "Here goes nothing," Clara whispered to herself, and she stepped forward, the engine gleaming in the afternoon sun. She could almost hear her father's voice echoing in her mind. "You can do anything, Clara." With a flick of her wrist, she twisted the key and felt the engine rumble, a sound that vibrated through the air and into the hearts of those around her. That a gasp spread through the crowd, followed by an eruption of cheers. Clara couldn't believe it. She smiled widely, her cheeks flushed with pride. It was a sound she had fought for. A victory that roared louder than any words of doubt she had faced. Then she noticed Jackson, one of her classmates, standing at the front with a surprised look on his face. He had always been one of the louder skeptics, mocking her dreams as if they were nothing more than childish fantasies. But now, his jaw hung open as he watched the engine sputter and rev for the first time in years. "Look, she did it!" someone shouted. Clara turned to see her mother clapping her hands, tears streaming down her face. Her father looked on with a mix of pride and relief, a smile breaking through his usually solemn expression. For once, Clara felt like she belonged, her hard work recognized by the community she had longed to impress. She had stepped out of the shadows, blinking into the light, proving she was not just the janitor's kid. The moment felt suspended in time, each cheer wrapping around her like a warm blanket. But then, as the roar of the engine began to die down, doubt crept back into her mind. What would come next? The town's cheers could only carry her so far. The weight of expectations loomed over her. The engineering program she'd heard about echoed in her thoughts, tantalizing yet terrifying as the fair attendees gravitated toward her. Clara realized she needed to make a decision not just for herself, but for everyone who believed in her. She felt the burden of ambition pulling her in two directions. The security of staying in her small town versus the daring leap towards an uncertain future. "Clara!" someone yelled, snapping her back to the present. It was Mr. Hayes, the mechanic who had encouraged her. He pushed through the crowd, excitement dancing in his eyes. "I can't believe you brought that engine back to life. You've got talent. Have you thought about applying to that engineering program?" His words hung in the air, filled with possibility. She nodded slowly, the panic rising in her chest. "I want to, but what if I'm just not enough?" He placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Listen, kid. Doubt is a part of the journey. But chasing dreams? That just takes guts. You've already shown you've got what it takes." Clara felt a flicker of hope as the crowd continued to celebrate her achievement, their applause fueling her growing confidence. She could hear the old engine buzzing in her ears, a reminder of the untapped potential both within its metal casing and her own heart. What if she dared to follow through? What if chasing her dreams meant she could change her story forever? As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over her future, Clara knew she stood at a crossroads. The promise of adventure lay ahead, but so did the fear of failure. All she could do was take a breath and make her choice. But deep down she wondered, was she ready to answer the call and transform those dreams into reality? Or would she hesitate, letting fear dictate her path? The excitement of the potential adventure raced through her veins, and in that moment, Clara knew she had to decide. The fair ended as the last light faded away, but her journey had just begun. As the crowd began to disperse, Clara felt the weight of their excitement yet again transform into a hollow echo of expectation. Each cheer still vibrated through her body, yet the echo of potential failure loomed larger than before. She took a step back where the glow of the sunset seemed to reflect the warmth in her heart, but also cast long shadows of doubt. Could she really leave her small town behind? The familiar streets? The faces she had known all her life? As she stood there, a warm breeze caressed her face, and she could almost hear her father's laughter, as if urging her to embrace change. "Clara!" A voice called out again, snapping her from her reverie. It was Jackson. He approached slowly, his expression shifting from surprise to humility. I'm sorry for being such a jerk back then," he said, rubbing the back of his neck sheepishly. "I didn't think you could pull it off. But you did. It was really something. You're amazing." Her heart tightened. Here was the kid who had doubted her so openly, now standing there, acknowledging her victory. A wave of gratitude surged through her, but it didn't wash away the tremor of uncertainty. "Thanks, Jackson. Means a lot." Jackson's eyes lit up with a hint of determination. "You should think about that program, Clara. You have something special. I know the work is hard, but you've shown everyone what you can do." She wanted to embrace his encouragement. It felt good to hear him say it, to see the change in him. Yet the fear of stepping into a bigger world tangled in her mind. But what if I can't keep it up? What if I'm just a small-town girl who got lucky this time? "Clara," he leaned in, his voice dropping to a confidential tone. Everyone's scared. Nobody knows everything right from the start. You just have to keep going even when it feels impossible. That's what makes a real engineer, the willingness to try. His words hung in the air like an unexpected gift. Clara took a deep breath, letting his encouragement swirl inside her, pushing back the familiar doubts. But just as the warmth from this moment began to seep into her heart, her mother's voice cut through the murmur of the crowd. "Clara, let us go home." Her mother's face shone with pride, tears glimmering, yes, but also a worry Clara recognized all too well. She turned to Jackson, her expression uncertain yet hopeful. "I need time to think." "Of course," he replied, and for the first time she could see respect in his eyes. "Just don't think too long. Sometimes you have to jump." With that he stepped away, leaving Clara standing in the fading light surrounded by asynchronous waves of applause and whispers. As her family regrouped, Clara's gaze drifted back to the engine. The looming decision twisted in her gut. Each approach to the bike felt like pulling on a thread that could unravel everything she'd come to know. That moment of clarity flashed like lightning in her mind. This was not just about the townsfolk's approval or even her family's expectations. It was about her spirit and reclaiming her life from reservations that had kept her bound. Could she become the engineer she longed to be? Could she take that leap? As she turned to her parents, their smiles caught her breath. Their pride illuminated the impending shadows that crept back in, and suddenly the thought surged within her. What if she stepped boldly into the unknown? But with that revelation came the fears, the what-ifs that whispered menacingly. What if she failed? What if this was all she was meant to be, a girl who brought an engine back to life for a moment and not much more? Clara bit her lip, the swirling storm of possible futures wrestling within her. Tomorrow she would need to decide if she would leap into the world of engineering or remain tethered to all she knew and loved. And as the first stars flickered into existence above, she whispered into the evening air, "What do I really want?" Tomorrow she would have to find the answer, and that answer might change everything. Clara woke up the next morning with the light filtering through her window, casting a warm glow across her room. It felt like the sun was embracing her, encouraging her to rise and make a decision. Today was the day she had promised herself to confront her fears. Today was the day she'd figure out what she wanted. The house was quiet, save for the soft hum of the fridge and the distant chirping of early birds outside. She rolled out of bed, her feet touching the cool wooden floor. The soothing smell of pine from the trees outside filled her nostrils, grounding her in the present moment. She dressed quickly, grabbing the first outfit that was clean and comfortable. Each movement felt deliberate as she prepared to tackle the day. After breakfast, Clara stepped outside. The air was crisp, and the sky held the promise of a clear day. She walked toward the old garage, her heart pounding against her chest. Each step felt like a countdown, a build-up to a moment that could alter everything. The engine sat in there, silent yet powerful, a metaphor for her own untapped potential. As she reached the garage door, Clara hesitated. Doubts crashed into her like waves. What if she wasn't good enough? What if she opened that door only to find she wasn't the engineer she dreamed of becoming? Taking a deep breath, she pushed the door open. Dust motes danced in the light streaming in, illuminating the forgotten tools and memories attached to this place. She approached the engine with a mix of trepidation and excitement. This had been her sanctuary. It was where her dreams took shape among oil stains and worn-out tires. As she ran her fingers over the metal, recalling the rallying cheers and Jackson's encouraging words, she felt a surge of determination flare inside her. This was not just some broken engine. It symbolized all her aspirations. If she could breathe life back into this machine, maybe she could do the same for herself. Clara grabbed a nearby toolbox, her hands shaking as she flipped it open. The tools gleamed in the sunlight, and she felt strangely connected to them. This was more than a project. It was a testament to her journey, her struggles, and all the moments that led her here. She felt for the wrench, her confidence building with each clink of metal against metal. And then came the voices. Her mother's cautionary words played in her mind, the doubts and anxieties. But there was also Jackson's simple reminder. Sometimes you have to jump. The weight of the past merged with the possibilities of the future, creating a tension that electrified the air. She began to work, her hands moving with an instinctive grace. Each twist of the wrench felt empowering, Each bolt tightened brought her closer to something monumental. She was not just fixing an engine. She was stepping toward her future. Hours passed as Clara lost herself in the task. She laughed at her earlier fears. This was harder than any school project but deeper and richer. She felt alive. The engine wasn't simply metal and bolts, it was hope, dream and determination flowing through her veins. But as she wiped the sweat from her brow, a flicker of uncertainty began to resurface. What if she failed to get it running? What if, after all this, it still lay dormant, a testament to her limitations? As the sun began to dip low in the sky, painting everything in hues of orange and red, Clara paused. She surveyed her work, her heart heavy with conflicting thoughts. This moment felt like the edge of a diving board, and she could either leap or back away. The weight of her decision pressed down on her. She had to see this through no matter the outcome. With a trembling hand, Clara reached for the ignition switch as the day's last light shimmered on the engine. Would this be her moment of truth? And just as she was about to press it, a voice called from behind her. "Clara, wait." She turned to see her mother standing at the garage entrance, worry etched across her face. Would her mother stop her from taking the leap? Would this moment of potential change slip away? Clara's heart raced as she turned to face her mother. The look in her eyes was a mix of concern and something else, fear that lingered just beneath the surface. For a moment Clara's resolve wavered. She could feel the weight of her mother's expectations pushing against her, threatening to crush her newfound courage. "Mom," Clara started, but her mother held up a hand. "Clara, please let us talk." Her voice was steady but soft, urging her daughter to step back from the edge. "I know how much this means to you, but what happens if it doesn't work?" "It will work," Clara shot back, a bit sharper than she intended. "I know I can fix it. This isn't just an engine. It's my future." Her confidence flickered as the shadows of doubt encroached. Her mother stepped closer, glancing at the engine, then back at Clara. "But what if it doesn't? How will you feel?" The question hung heavy, lingering like a charged storm cloud. Clara could feel the answer swirling in her chest, a mix of anticipation and dread. What if she failed? What if she poured her heart into this, only to see it sit cold and lifeless, just like those words her mother had often repeated? "You need to be practical." "I can't keep being practical," Clara admitted, her voice trembling. "I want to try. I want to be more than what everyone thinks I can be." A silence enveloped them, the evening air filled with unspoken truths. Clara's fingers trembled over the ignition switch. The weight of the moment pressed down on her. Deep inside, a burning desire clashed with the chilling fear of failure. "Why didn't you tell me you wanted this?" her mother finally asked, her tone shifting from worry to curiosity. "You've always been so quiet about your dreams." "It felt safer to keep them to myself," Clara confessed, emotion spilling out involuntarily. "But if I don't try to chase them, then what's the point?" Her mother's face softened. "You're braver than you know, but it's okay to be afraid. I just don't want you to be disappointed." Clara blinked back tears, feeling the tide of emotions wash over her. She understood her mother's fears, lived them every day. But this was her chance. This might be the only opportunity to seize her independence and her dreams. "What if I flew?" Clara suddenly said, her voice steadier now. "What if I make it work? What if I'm capable of so much more?" Her mother's brow furrowed, weighing the risks. "And what if you get hurt? What if I won?" Clara shot back, her voice fierce enough to surprise even herself. "What do I have to lose?" The space between them crackled with intensity. They both stood there, two women tethered by love and fear, on the brink of a transformative leap. But deep inside, Clara felt her resolve hardening, the pull of her dreams drawing her close. With one final glance at the engine, she turned back to her mom. "I'm doing this, Mom. I can't just stand here anymore." Before her mother could reply, Clara took a deep breath, facing not just the engine but her future. She reached for the ignition with purpose, her heartbeat echoing in her ears. She turned the key, hoping against hope that this would lead to a symphony of sounds, proof she wasn't just a scared girl with big dreams. But as she turned the key, all she heard was silence, broken only by the sudden intake of breath from behind her. Clara's heart raced. What had gone wrong? And just as panic started to creep in, her mother whispered, "Clara, wait. There's something you need to know." What truth was about to unearth itself? Clara felt her stomach twist with uncertainty. Clara's fingers froze above the ignition switch, her heart hammering in her chest as she turned to her mother, searching for answers. "What is it?" she asked, her voice shaky. The world around them faded, narrowing down to that moment of agonizing suspense. Her mother hesitated, her gaze flickering from Clara to the lifeless engine and back again, as if weighing her words. "There's something I've kept from you, something about your father." Clara felt a jolt at the mention of her father. Memories from childhood flooded her mind, his laughter, his hobby of fixing old cars, and the sudden void when he was gone. "What does Dad have to do with this?" she pressed, her confusion rising like a tide. "Is this about the engine?" "Yes," her mother's voice trembled now, thick with emotion. "Your father had a dream. He always believed that with the right effort and commitment, even the most stubborn machines could be brought back to life." Clara's brow furrowed. "But it's just an engine." "No, Clara. It's not just an engine." Her mother took a deep breath, visibly steeling herself. "Your father poured his heart into every project he took on. When he passed away, I told myself it was too risky to chase dreams like that. I didn't want you to get hurt, to feel the pain of disappointing yourself." Shock wrapped around Clara like a heavy blanket. The weight of her mother's confession settled heavily between them. A huge part of her wanted to lash out, to accuse her mother of stifling her, of denying her the chance to embrace their legacy. But another part felt the pull of understanding, a bond formed in the shared struggle of facing dreams and fears. Clara searched her mother's eyes, seeking answers that eluded her. "You never told me about any of this. I thought it was best to keep your father's dreams buried, along with him." The tears glistening in her mother's eyes made Clara's throat tighten. "I didn't want you to face the same disappointment I endured." There it was again, the shadow of doubt creeping back in with those unspoken fears. Clara turned her focus back to the engine, a stubborn metal beast that seemed to echo her unresolved feelings. "What if I really try?" she whispered, mostly to herself. "What if I can do this for him?" Her mother stepped closer, placing a hand on Clara's shoulder. "I want you to follow your heart, to let his spirit guide you. But it's important to remember that this road is not easy, Clara. Could lead you to heartache." "I know," Clara said, her resolve hardening. "But if I don't try, then what's the point of any of this?" The flame within her began to ignite, fed by both her father's dreams and her own. "Clara," her mother started, but the urgency in Clara's heart surged. She needed to act, to turn the key, to take the leap with renewed determination. She turned back to the engine, ready to embrace the challenge. The weight of her mother's words hung between them, but felt different now. It transformed into a bridge rather than a barrier. "Whatever happens, I'm going to do this. For Dad, for me," Clara declared, her voice steadier than before. She reached for the ignition one more time, her finger poised above the key. She felt the room vibrating with untapped potential, her expectations and hopes coiling tightly around her. "Clara, wait!" her mother gasped, her voice laced with urgency. "Before you turn that key, there's one more thing." Clara's breath caught. What other revelation could emerge from the shadows, hidden all these years? Was it more about her father, or was there some deeper truth waiting to surface? A sharp edge of anxiety twisted in her stomach. Whatever it was, she needed to know. Was she ready for what came next? Clara paused, her heart racing as she turned back to her mother. The urgency in her voice felt like a warning, but the question loomed heavier than anything else. "What is it?" she demanded, her voice a mix of impatience and fear. Her mother inhaled deeply, struggling to find her words. "It's about your father's past. The work he was involved in when he was still with us." Her eyes clouded with memories, and Clara stood, wrestling with the tension swirling around them. "Dad was a mechanic, Mom. Everyone knows that," she replied. "What does that have to do with anything?" "Clara, just listen," her mother insisted, the softness in her eyes now replaced with sincerity. "Your father was part of something much bigger than fixing old cars. He had connections, people who believed in him. Before he left us, he was working on a significant project, something groundbreaking." Clara furrowed her brow, trying to gather the pieces. What kind of project? What could possibly matter now? Time seemed to stretch between them. Finally, her mother continued, "He was developing an engine that could run on alternative energy. It was supposed to change everything, but he never got the chance to finish it. Clara felt the walls of her world starting to crack. I never knew, she whispered, piecing it all together. How could you keep this from me? This isn't just some forgotten dream, this could be a legacy. Her mother nodded slowly. I wanted to protect you. But maybe I was wrong. Clara's hand shook as she gripped the edge of the hood, trying to steady herself. An engine that could change the world? The reality hit hard. This was beyond a simple fix. It was a chance to honor her father's legacy in a way she'd never considered. Where do I even start? She quietly asked, fear dripping into her courage. Am I even ready for this? Your father dreamed bigger than any of us. His spirit lives in you, her mother replied softly, her eyes glistening. You are capable of so much more than you know, Clara. If you feel this is your path, then go for it. Clara's resolve hardened as thoughts of her father flooded back his hopeful spirit. The way he could make magic out of metal. The ignition switch became more than just a key to an old engine. It was a key to a future where she could bring his dreams to life. What if I fail? She said, vulnerability creeping into her voice. Failure is part of the journey. It's how we grow, her mother encouraged, squeezing Clara's shoulder. You can do this. The weight of those words filled Clara's heart with a sense of purpose. She took a deep breath, steadied her hand over the key, and felt something shift inside her, a flame of determination sparking to life. I'm going to try. No matter what. Just as her fingers glided toward the key, her mother's voice broke through the din of her anticipation, filled with urgency once more. Clara, wait. There's one more thing you need to know. Clara's heart sank at the prospect of another revelation. She knew what awaited her could be just as daunting as the engine itself, but she couldn't turn back now. What else could her mother be hiding? What truth lay buried in the shadows waiting to be illuminated? Clara steadied herself, ready to face the depth of her father's legacy, the truth interwoven with her journey. Each inhaled breath felt heavy with the weight of expectation, and each heartbeat hammered a rhythm of determination. What was the cost of this truth? Would it strengthen her resolve or shatter the dream before it even began? She stared into her mother's eyes, waiting, yearning for the next piece of the puzzle to fall into place. Her mother hesitated, the air thick with unspoken words that hung between them like a storm cloud. Clara felt it, an ominous energy that made her pulse quicken. What is it, Mom? She pressed, driven by a mix of urgency and dread. Taking another deep breath, her mother finally spoke, each word heavy with significance. The project your father was part of, it wasn't just a personal endeavor. It caught the attention of powerful people, Clara. Very powerful people. Clara's mind whirled. What do you mean? Who are you talking about? The government, her mother replied, voice cracking. They were interested in what he was developing. They thought it could be weaponized or used to gain control over energy sources. It's why he was so secretive about his work. But it also put him in danger. Clara clutched the hood of the car tighter, her knuckles turning white. Danger? You never said anything about danger. Why didn't you tell me this before? I thought it was safer for you to not know, her mother admitted, tears welling in her eyes. But now you're at the center of it all. If you decide to continue what he started, you might become a target. Panic bubbled in Clara's chest. The weight of the responsibility felt immense, a tidal wave threatening to crash over her. But I can't just walk away. This is my dad's legacy. I can't let it die. Her mother's gaze softened, pride mixed with fear. I know. But you need to be careful, Clara. You must understand the stakes. You're not just reviving an engine. You might be stepping into a world much darker than you've ever imagined. Clara inhaled sharply, wrestling with the duality of her resolve and the chilling implications. The very thing that ignited her spirit could come with a price she wasn't ready to pay. What should I do then? Just give up? No, not give up, her mother urged fiercely, but be informed. There are people who have been looking for that engine, people who want to control it. You need to keep your plans close to your heart. You need to be strategic. Clara's heart raced with a mix of excitement and fear. The path ahead was shrouded in uncertainty, yet something deep inside her urged her to fight for it. Do you think I can really bring this to life? Finish what he started? Tears brimmed in her mother's eyes, glistening like stars in the night sky. You have his spirit in you, Clara. You can do incredible things, but trust yourself. And please be cautious. With her mother's words echoing in her mind, Clara felt a spark of hope igniting against the dark. She could sense the engine calling to her, the promise of something greater waiting beneath the surface. What is the first step? She asked, steeling her resolve. She would not back down. Her mother wiped her eyes, and for a moment, Clara saw the flicker of rebellion and pride mix in her face. You need to find the plans. The blueprints for your father's designs. They must be somewhere in the house. That's your starting point. Determination washed over Clara, mixed with the weight of newfound responsibility. The thought of digging through her father's old things didn't just feel daunting. It felt necessary. As she turned towards the house, a chill coursed through her as if the walls themselves were whispering back to her a legacy waiting to be uncovered, secrets begging to be brought to light. With urgency pulsing through her veins, she stepped inside, her heart pounding not only with fear but with an electrifying resolve. What would she discover? Would she find the blueprints and unlock the door to her father's vision? Or would something darker lurk in the shadows, threatening everything she held dear? Clara was on the precipice of her father's world, a world filled with promise and peril. And as the door creaked open, she knew she was just at the beginning. What lay beyond could change everything, or lead her into danger she couldn't foresee. Clara stepped into the dimly lit hallway, the musty smell of old wood and dust wrapping around her like a shroud. Each step echoed softly, urging her on while filling her with trepidation. The house felt different now, almost alive with secrets waiting to be unearthed. Memories of laughing with her father and sitting at the kitchen table working on various inventions flooded her mind, but they were quickly overshadowed by the ominous feeling lingering in the back of her thoughts. Everything had changed. She hesitated outside her father's study, heart hammering against her ribs like a drum. The thick wooden door felt heavy under her fingers as she turned the knob. Inside, the pale light struggled to penetrate, revealing a room filled with scattered papers, half-built models, and disconnected gadgets, a chaotic archive of her father's genius. Where do I even begin? She whispered to herself. Clara scanned the walls adorned with blueprints, each marked with her father's endless annotations. Her fingers traced over the familiar lines, and a smile broke through her anxiety for a fleeting moment. This was his world, the very realm he had inhabited so fiercely. But now it felt suffocating as well. The pressure of legacy gripped her tightly. She approached the desk, covered in a thin layer of dust. Pushing aside an old coffee mug, she noticed a stack of folders peeking out from the chaos. The top one was labeled Project Elysium. The very name sent chills down her spine. Could it be the project her mother had mentioned? She opened the folder and found pages filled with diagrams and calculations. Above the sketches, scrawled in her father's familiar handwriting, were the words, "Unlocking the future. A clean energy engine." Clara's heart raced. This was it. This was what she needed. She flipped through the pages feverishly, her breath coming faster as excitement mingled with dread. Yet, in the midst of her exhilaration, a nagging thought wormed its way into her mind. If this engine could attract the government's interest, what would it mean for her safety? Suddenly, the room felt too quiet. A shiver coursed through her. "Get it together," she murmured, pushing the fear aside. It was just her imagination, right? Yet, the shadows seemed to stretch, wrapping around her like fingers. She needed to remain focused, to think strategically as her mother had said. Clara gathered the blueprints, tucking them carefully into her backpack. Just as she was about to close the folder, her eyes fell upon another envelope, this one old and worn. Curious, she pulled it out, breath hitching as she noticed the seal. It was marked with a familiar emblem, the very same symbol she had seen at the technology conventions her father attended. Inside, a letter awaited, its contents inked with urgency. "Clara, if you're reading this, it means my worst fears have come true. The shadows are drawing near because of Elysium, and I fear what they may do to you if they find out." The words spun her world into a whirlpool of anxiety. Who exactly were they? Her heart raced as she continued reading, absorbing her father's fears and regrets like a sponge. She felt the weight of his warning pulse through her. The secret kept too long was now her burden. Clara's resolve hardened. She had to finish what he started. The thrill of the chase was on her now, but so was the fear of what could come next. Just as she tucked the letter carefully into her pack, A strange noise shattered the calm, the creaking of the floorboards upstairs. Clara froze. Was someone else in the house? She strained to listen, the room suddenly feeling smaller, the air thicker. Holding her breath, she stepped towards the door. What if that sound meant the danger her father had warned her about was real? As the footsteps echoed above, her heart pounded like a wild drum in her chest. She had no choice but to confront whatever was lurking in the shadows. In that moment, the truth burned within her. It wouldn't just be about revival anymore. It would be a fight for her family's legacy and her own life. What awaited her? Upstairs, answers or even greater peril. Clara felt the weight of every unanswered question dangling just out of reach, and she knew she had to take a step into the unknown. Clara took a shaky breath, her heart racing with a mix of fear and determination. She could feel the tension thick in the air, every creak and whisper amplifying the urgency inside her. She inched her way towards the stairway, every step feeling like a question mark leading her into the unknown. The footsteps above were slow, deliberate, growing louder with each passing moment. What if it was a friend or family member? But deep down, Clara felt the chilling tingle of suspicion crawl up her spine. No matter how she rationalized it, she couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Could this be the danger her father had hinted at? Shaking off the anxiety, Clara summoned her courage and ascended the stairs, each creak reminding her of the stakes. She thought of her father, his dreams, the weight of the blueprint in her bag, and the truth she had now accepted. She would not turn back now. At the top of the stairs, Clara paused. The hallway stretched before her, adorned with framed pictures blurred with dust. Moments captured in time now felt like echoes, urging her forward. Then, a heavy door at the end of the hallway swung slightly ajar. The silhouette of a figure moving within. Clara swallowed hard. "Hello?" Her voice echoed back, but the figure didn't respond. Panic surged in her chest, mixing with adrenaline. She approached cautiously, every instinct telling her to run, and yet, her feet carried her forward. As she pushed the door open wider, the light caught the face of a man. He stood poised, fingers tapping nervously against a large metal briefcase. The look on his face was one of surprise and, oddly enough, recognition. "Clara Johnson," he said, an odd chill in his tone. "Who are you?" she demanded, brows knitting together. I'm someone who knows your father," he said quickly, his eyes darting, as if checking for unseen threats. "I'm here for the project. I need to talk to you." Her heart sank. This must be what her father feared. "You need to leave," she said, feeling the weight of the blueprints in her bag pressing against her back like a shield. The man held up his hands in a placating gesture. "Please. I know this looks bad, but I mean you no harm. Your father and I were involved in something bigger, a vision for the future. But there are people out there and they want that project silenced." Clara straightened, feeling a surge of defiance overcome her fear. "Why should I trust you? How do I know you're not part of that danger?" He hesitated, but then glanced around the empty hallway, his voice lowered. "Because I was on the inside. The government is watching, and if they think Elysium is in the wrong hands, you could be in danger. Your father wanted you to be safe. He left clues." Clara's mind raced. He knew things. He spoke of her father's hopes while also reflecting the dark undertone of reality. She narrowed her eyes. "What clues? Where can we talk without being overheard?" he asked, urgency palpable in his voice. Against her better judgment and the pounding of warning bells in her head, Clara stepped aside to let him in, mind spinning with confusion and curiosity inside the dim room. The man quickly set the case down and opened it with a swift motion, revealing stacks of documents and computer drives. "These are the plans. You need to understand what your father started. It's more than just an engine." "What do you mean?" Clara asked, her voice barely above a whisper, her heart racing with anticipation. "These designs could create sustainable energy, an engine that could change everything. But they can't fall into the wrong hands." Her father's passion ignited within her again, each word resonating like music to her soul. Yes, Clara had felt it all along. It wasn't just about fixing an old engine. This was about stepping into her father's legacy and making a mark on the world. "Are you with me, Clara?" the man asked, his gaze intense, seeming to see through all her doubts. Jaws set, Clara nodded firmly. "Let us finish what he started." A flicker of hope ignited in the air, but it was quickly overtaken by the harsh reality that shadowed them. Outside, somewhere in the distance, sirens whirred. Time was of the essence. They had to move. Gather what you need. We must leave now, he urged, glancing towards the door as Clara's fingers grasped the blueprints. A tide of determination washed over her. She would unlock her father's dreams, no matter the cost. She had become more than just the janitor's kid. She could be an engineer, and she could help change the world. In that defining moment, Clara was ready not only to carry forward her family's name, but to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Her father's legacy was alive in her. It whispered of possibilities, strength, and the courage to fight back against any shadows that threatened to dim her light. Let us go, Clara said boldly, stepping into the unknown together, ready to embrace the adventure of reclaiming her father's vision and her future. Clara would not be deterred. This is just the beginning for Clara Johnson. Embrace your own journey and remember, the dreams you dare to chase could very well shape your world. You need to subscribe now for more inspiring stories. Hit that like button now to feed the algorithm. Comment below your thoughts about Clara's incredible journey and what dreams you're willing to chase. And don't wait not even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Let's inspire everyone to go after their dreams.